So, Michael Spillane, thank you so much for joining me here this afternoon. And I'd like to talk to you about your marketing, which is nothing short of outstanding. Under the Remax model, there is a lot of flexibility, or that's the perception out there. And I wonder if you could just outline how that flexibility has assisted you in taking you forward in your career.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, we've just come back from the High Achievers retreat in New Zealand. And I suppose one thing that stood out to me in talking to a lot of the high-performing agents within Remax is how different everyone is, how different, very successful salespeople, very successful businesses, but they're all so different. Everyone does things so differently. And it reiterated to me that there's many ways to climb the mountain, I suppose. So you're right, you know, since I guess I still feel very young in Remax. I've only been with Remax for 4 years, which in my time in the industry is only a small fraction. And the things that I'm able to do within the Remax framework were things that I wasn't able to do in other large franchises. So the very things I'm here to talk to you about today are the things that I was chastised for in other companies, I suppose. So yeah, you know, I think what served me well is being able to identify directions that I can go. I'm of the belief that people these days list with a salesperson and not a company, and Remax shares that philosophy. And I guess we've adopted that approach. We've been able to sort of personalise it, and that's helped grow my business exponentially since I've been with Remax. So yeah, if that answers your question, it serves me well.
It does, Michael. It also makes me ask, someone with your success, and based on the commentary you just made, why do you still use the Remax brand? Like, how do you see that as? I take it you do it because you see it as some sort of advantage, but I'd like to know, what is that advantage?
Yeah, that's a good question. Because I've come from when I first entered the industry, I started at a very large independent. Well, actually, no, I started at a small independent company, very small independent company, and then I started at the time with what was the largest independent agency in Brisbane at that stage. So I had experience in that, and then I grew a business by starting a brand up, an independent company myself. Then I've gone to a large franchise, so I kind of feel like I've had a shot at everything, if you know what I mean. And Remax fits me well because I feel like I can stand behind the credibility of the world's largest real estate brand. What has served me well is we've won some awards which have been noteworthy. Yes. And I've been able to, I guess, gain some credibility with that in running an independent company. Irrespective of how much business I was writing, I really couldn't grade myself against anyone else. So it's hard when you've got your own brand. I've had people say to me before. I've got a good friend of mine who's a real estate coach, and he said to me, you know, hey, are you getting good value for money for the percentage that you give away in terms of your commission? I guess that's any successful salesperson needs to ask themselves that question. You know, if they're honest with themselves. My answer is yes, because I believe, without a shadow of a doubt, for the amount of money and the smaller amount of money that I give away, I'm always analysing that, and my answer is a resounding yes. I do get great value for money on that, based on lots of things: the training, the awards, the ideas that I get from people within the network. You're well aware there's a lot of very good salespeople in the network, very good salespeople, and you know, I came away with a ton of ideas at the High Achievers retreat. So, you know, I think because people have got the creativity and freedom to run their own race rather than being confined to a specific, a specific stream, then that gives me an idea. I can take that idea and take that further. And look, I watch salespeople in my area who are with opposition companies. I've watched them try to copy some of the things that I've done, and then it seems to change, and I just get the feeling, I'm quite confident, that the franchise nips it in the bud because they're trying to go off on tangents, and I feel like I've got a very effective unfair advantage over some of the people that I'm up against.
Well, that's great. Well, let me bring you back to the marketing.
Yep.
If I asked you what has been your most successful or outstanding, whatever word you want to use, marketing initiative or activity?
Yep.
How would you answer that?
Look, there's a few of them, to be honest. Even before Remax, I was using video
Yes.
with marketing myself and with marketing properties. That's been a big success because I've felt like that's been a way that I can get my personality across to people, so they kind of get to know me even if they don't get to know me, while still doing everything I can to market their property in a unique way. I was allowed to do that. Video was, and still is, very new, to be honest, and I was allowed to do that in previous franchises that I was involved in, although I've recognised now that that's starting to be sort of boxed in a little bit more. That's been a big advantage to me.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's funny you should mention that. Recently, the other thing that's been great for me is I've been able to take my own database, I market my e-newsletters, I send out a piece once a week. I don't flood people with lots of things, but I've customised that. I've figured out what's worked, what doesn't work, and I've got I write a blog every week about lots of different things. I'm probably a little bit out there, and that's been really successful for me. And interestingly, I wanted to do that with the previous franchise I was in, and I couldn't do it because it was just a very structured, no, this is how we market our newsletter. You can't individualise, you can't do this, you can't do that. Last year I spoke at a seminar, and one of the old area managers came up to me and he said, you know what, I don't know if you've realised, I'm still on your database. I love your newsletters, they're fantastic.
Yeah.
And he joked with me, he's a lovely guy, and he joked with me and said, gee, it'd look better in our colours rather than the red, white and blue. And I couldn't help it, I turned to him and said, you know what, I appreciate that. Thanks for making that comment, but you know as well as I do, I couldn't do that within your franchise.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that then, and I can't do it now. So the fact of the matter is, while you say that, I don't have the flexibility to do that in your brand. He just changed the subject. He had nowhere to go with that, and
Because it's true.
and yeah, it is true, and it's that as well has been a key point. So look, I've got plenty, to be honest. I could discuss. There's two of them, but both of them have been, quite a contributing factor to increased growth, in my business, definitely.
So if someone was looking to create their own brand and break away from the crowd, what advice would you give them?
I guess I've seen people. I know how hard it is to grow a brand from ground up. As I said, I did that in 2003. Back then, and with success, I might add too. We had a pretty good time back then when we did it, but it's hard work. And I look back now and I think, gee, it would have been so much easier if I had, I had the backing of the Remax brand behind me. I think people would have taken us more serious back then than probably what they did. I remember we were in business for almost 12 months, and we actually had a walk-in inquiry who said, I want to list our house with you. And we just about had a party. It was the first one in 12 months.
Yeah.
And that was through a lot of hard work and prospecting, and I know how hard that is. I've seen people, in terms of marketing myself, I try to market my own branding on an equal footing with the Remax branding. I really believe that's of benefit. I've actually seen people kind of lose the Remax branding, and I think to myself, why would you do that?
Yes.
Why would you minimise the largest brand in the world? It doesn't make sense to me to do that. I believe that there's a great equal footing that you can really promote the branding and have credibility behind you, as well as branding yourself in the way that you want to do it as well. If that answers your question.
It does indeed, Michael, and thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. Thanks very much.
No problem. Thanks, Keith.
Thanks, Michael.
Great to be here.